Stop. Do not scroll. I need you to hear this first. Right now, your brain is running settings you never chose. Settings that were installed when you were small. Settings that were changed after someone hurt you. Settings that still control what you say, what you avoid, who you become. And the terrifying part? You have never once opened the menu. Most people believe thoughts just appear. Random, uncontrollable, like weather. But that is wrong. Your brain runs on settings, hidden sliders, silent switches, background programs running constantly, confidence level, threat sensitivity, memory replay frequency, social risk detection, embarrassment amplification, self-worth calibration. You never set these manually, but they are running right now every single second. They filter what you notice. They shape what you fear. They decide what feels safe and what feels dangerous. And most people go their entire life without knowing these settings exist. But here is what makes it strange. You did not build them. Someone else did. You were not born anxious. You were not born with low confidence. You were not born checking every tone of voice for danger. These settings were installed by moments, small ones mostly, moments that felt enormous at the time. The day you said something and the room went quiet. The day you trusted someone completely and they walked away. The day you tried something new and everyone watched you fail. Your brain took notes, not logical ones, emotional recordings. And after each one, it made a decision. Never feel that again. So it changed the settings. Just slightly. Risk detection moved up. Self-monitoring moved up. Confidence moved down. Trust threshold moved down. You barely noticed. Because the changes were small. And they were disguised as wisdom. It felt like you were becoming smarter, more careful, more realistic about how the world works. But something was quietly happening underneath all of that. Something you did not expect. Think of a microphone. A normal microphone picks up your voice clearly. Now imagine someone slowly increases the sensitivity. At first it feels like an upgrade. You hear more, you catch more, you notice things others miss, tiny tone changes, subtle pauses, shifts in someone's energy. Your brain starts predicting situations before they fully arrive. It feels powerful. It feels like awareness. But increase the sensitivity too high, and the microphone breaks. It starts picking up everything. Background hiss, room noise, signals that mean nothing. It can no longer separate real sound from interference. That is exactly what happened to your threat detection. It went up to protect you, and then it went too far, and now your brain cannot tell the difference between actual danger and something that just slightly resembles it. And the consequences of that are invisible, but enormous. Someone replies to your message late. Your brain says something is wrong. Someone gives a short answer. Your brain says they are upset with you. Someone is quiet in the car. Your brain says you did something wrong. Someone does not smile when they usually do. Your brain starts running scenarios. None of this feels like paranoia. It feels like pattern recognition. It feels like intelligence, but it is not. It is a miscalibrated setting doing its job too aggressively. And the worst part is not the false alarms themselves. The worst part is what they trigger next. Because every false alarm activates another setting, one that runs even deeper, one that has been running since you were a child. The memory replay setting. Your brain does not replay everything. That would be impossible. It selects specific moments, emotionally loaded ones, moments where something felt wrong, embarrassing, confusing, painful. It marks those moments as important data. Then it replays them, not to hurt you. Your brain genuinely believes it is helping. It is studying the memory like a detective, frame by frame, looking for something it missed. What signal did we overlook? What warning came too late? What could we have done differently? Your brain wants to extract information. It wants to protect you better next time. But the process has a flaw that nobody talks about. Every single replay strengthens the memory. The moment becomes sharper, more vivid, more emotionally intense. After 10 replays, a small, awkward moment starts to feel like a defining failure. After 50 replays, it feels like evidence. Evidence of something being fundamentally wrong with you. And that is when the third setting activates. The one that quietly shapes every decision you make going forward. Your brain loves patterns. It looks at enough painful past moments, then it starts building predictions. Last time you spoke up in a group, you felt embarrassed. Prediction, speaking up is dangerous. Last time you showed someone your real self, they pulled back. Prediction, vulnerability leads to rejection. Last time you took a risk, it went wrong. Prediction, risks lead to pain. None of these predictions are announced. They just quietly shape behavior. You go to speak and something hesitates. You go to share an idea and something holds back. You go to take a risk and something says wait. You assume that voice is wisdom. You assume it is maturity. You assume it is just your personality. But it is a prediction engine, running on old data. Data from moments that may have happened 10 or 20 years ago. And it is still making decisions for you today. But here is where the story breaks open completely. Because this engine has a critical vulnerability. Your brain learns through evidence, not through arguments, not through motivation, not through telling yourself to be more confident. Evidence. Real lived experience that contradicts the old prediction. And here is the exploit. Every single time you act against a prediction and survive, the prediction weakens. Every time you speak up and the world does not end. The threat slider lowers slightly. Every time you show someone something real and they stay. The trust setting recalibrates every time you take a risk and the outcome turns out manageable. The sensitivity setting drops. Your brain does not need to be convinced, it needs to be shown. And the only way to show it is to move while the warning is still playing. Not because you are not afraid. Exactly because you are. And every time you do that, something inside the settings menu quietly shifts. Not dramatically, not overnight, but it shifts. There are settings most people never touch. Not because they cannot, because they do not know they exist. The self-worth baseline. The default assumption about how others perceive you. The threshold for deciding someone's silence means rejection. The filter that decides which feedback to absorb and which to dismiss. These are not personality. These are not who you are. These are calibrations. Set by moments you may not even clearly remember. Moments that felt large to a younger version of you. Moments where your brain made a decision to protect you, and then never revisited that decision, because nobody told it to. Nobody sat down with the system and said, that was then. This is now. The data has changed. We need to update. That is the work most people never do, and the ones who do it. They do not become fearless. They just stop being controlled by evidence that expired years ago. Changing your settings does not feel like transformation. It feels like nothing at first. You act despite the warning. The outcome is fine. You think, okay, that was fine. And you move on. But something happened, something small updated in the background. You do it again. Same result, another small update. You do it enough times. And one day you notice something. The voice predicting disaster is quieter, not gone, just quieter. The threat detection is lower. The replay frequency has decreased. The false alarms come less often. And you realize something that changes how you see yourself completely. You were never the problem, your settings were. And settings are not identity, they are data. And data can change. But here is the part nobody wants to hear. Some people will watch this video, understand everything I just said, and still not change. Not because they cannot. Because changing your settings requires walking directly into the situations that trigger them. And your brain will fight that. Hard. It will call it unnecessary. It will call it risky. It will produce extremely convincing arguments for why now is not the right time. That is not weakness. That is the setting doing its job. Protecting a version of you it has been protecting for years. But that version is not who you are now. That version was a child in a moment that felt enormous, and your brain never got the update. So the question is not whether you can change your settings. The question is whether you are willing to show your brain something new. Not tell it, show it, one moment at a time, one small move against the prediction, one piece of evidence that contradicts the old data, and then another, until the menu looks nothing like it did when you started. Until the person running on those old settings is someone you barely recognize, someone quieter, calmer, less afraid of the noise, because they finally know where the noise was coming from. Your brain was never broken. It was learning from the wrong data. If this changed how you see yourself, subscribe now. Next video opens a setting that most people spend their entire life trying to ignore. The one that decides whether you believe you deserve good things. That one runs deeper than all of these. And it was set before you were old enough to have a say.